I set that one up, didn't I?
Okay, call meeting to order. Those who care to, please stand for an opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Cameron, if you would.
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and just thank you for all that you do for us. And Lord, we just pray for our meeting tonight. Just be with us and guide us and direct us in all we do. And Lord, again, just pray for our country and pray for our leaders and pray for the people of Las Vegas and the tragic events that have occurred there this week, and just that there would be healing, and Lord, that you would just reunite our nation and help us to work together. And I just pray for all those involved. Be with this community, be with our city, be with our leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we will start off tonight with a couple of proclamations. The first one, I'd like to welcome Chief Compton in the Fire Department. Proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the City of Republic is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Republic, and whereas U.S. fire departments responded to 365,500 home fires in 2015, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and whereas U.S. home fires resulted in 2,560 civilian deaths in 2015, representing the majority, 78% of all U.S. fire deaths. And whereas newer homes are built with lightweight materials that burn faster than older home construction, and whereas many of today's products and furnishings produce toxic gases and smoke when burned, making it impossible to see and breathe within moments. And whereas these conditions contribute to a much smaller window of time for people to escape a home fire safely, with people having as little as 1 to 2 minutes to escape from the time the smoke alarm sounds. And a home fire escape plan provides the skill set and know-how to quickly, safely escape a home fire situation. Whereas practicing a home fire escape plan twice a year ensures that everyone in the household knows what to do in a real fire situation. And whereas Republic's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through the prevention and protection education. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Usry, Mayor of the City of Republic in the state of Missouri, urge all citizens of Republic to develop a home fire escape plan, practice it twice a year, and to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of Republic's fire and emergency services. I hereby proclaim October 8th through October 14th as Fire Prevention Week 2017. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic this third day of October 80, 2017. That was a mouthful.
Changed.
Oh, is that your left? Get one more.
I didn't catch that. His name changed. Oh. He's just fine. 15 more than
Thank you, guys. And we have one more. Fire Prevention Week and Crime Prevention Month. Crime Prevention Month for October, so welcome Chief Lawton. Crime Prevention Month. Whereas the vitality of Republic depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, and communities, and whereas crime and fear of crime destroy our trust in others and in civic institutions, threatening the community's health, prosperity, and quality of life, and whereas people of all ages must be made aware of what they can do to prevent themselves and their families, neighbors, and coworkers from being harmed by crime, and whereas people of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of crime and how they can protect themselves from becoming victims. The personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crimes are intolerable and require investment from the whole community. And whereas crime prevention initiatives must include self-protection and security, but they must go beyond these to promote collaborative efforts to make neighborhoods safer for all ages, to develop positive opportunities for young people. Whereas adults must invest time, resources, and policy support in effective prevention and intervention strategies for youth and adults, must make sure to engage teens in programs to drive crime from their communities. And whereas effective crime prevention programs succeed because of partnerships with law enforcement, other government agencies, civic groups, schools, faith communities, businesses, and individuals, they help to nurture communal responsibility and instill pride. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Ussery, Mayor of the City of Republic and the State of Missouri, urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and work together to make Republic a safer, stronger, and more caring community. I hereby proclaim October 2017 as Crime Prevention Month. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic this 3rd day of October, AD 2017.
Did you notice we have a month, they have a week?
Well, I figured if we gave them a month, we'd have one person show up.
What do you say?
Nice.
Let's get a picture
Even
here.
figure more than one person would show up for a month.
We're on an accident, so.
Thank you, Rick. You know I'm just giving you a hard time, Chief.
He was on news at 3 at 6,
It's a hard time.
6 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, moving on to citizen participation. Anyone who would like to speak to anything not on the agenda, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, citizen participation is closed. Moving on, I need a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Okay. It does not pass. We have 3-3. We had 3 abstentions and the 3 who were not here for the last meeting had to abstain for the minutes.
They don't have to abstain, they can.
I'll withdraw my abstention.
Okay. Okay.
It really did
In
happen.
that case, motion carries 4-2. Way to start it off. Moving on to boards, commissions, committee schedules. Of note, the city council meeting, the next city council meeting will be October 17th, followed by the next one on November 7th, 2017. This time, move on to old business. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of bill number 17-37.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Ms. Brenda.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of special obligation refunding bonds, Series 2017, of the City of Republic, Missouri, and approving certain documents and authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith.
Thank you. Need a motion and a second for final passage of bill number 17-37.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second, and at the last council meeting during the first reading, we were advised that there were some things that were not filled in on the ordinance, and that had to, because there was time sensitive and we couldn't get the numbers until now, but what is going to be relayed to us at this point is going to be the final and permanent language in this ordinance. Correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or the ordinance is being presented, I don't know if they'll cover it, every little detail.
But the updates.
Yeah, the updates.
All right, Ms. Parks.
Good evening, council. At this time, I will introduce Martin Kafori. He is the director with Stiefel and Nicholas and Company. And also present is Mr. Carl Ramey, also with Stiefel. And at this time, I'm going to have Martin come up and give you the overview of everything that transpired today and the updates on the final numbers for the bond refunding. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thanks. It's good to see everybody. And first off, congratulations. Today, the city did sell a little more than $4 million worth of bonds. It was a refinancing of 2 prior issues, and the sole purpose was for interest rate savings. The city was able to receive savings in excess of $1 million, which is very good news. The earlier indications were a little bit less. I did hand out a sheet on the dais there, so you each have a little bit of a summary. I'll just hit on a few of those points, but the long and short of it is, it was a very good day in the market today. We did sell the entire issue. The market was really primed for the city's bonds. And on top of that, I believe David had mentioned previously that the city did receive a bond rating upgrade as well. So these bonds carry a rating of A+, which is an upgrade from the prior rating, which was A before. And Debbie was telling me this is her first time going through the bond process, which kind of shocks me because she did a great job. She really carried the torch to a large degree, and David also, who's a seasoned veteran, I would say, at bond issues. He's done this once or twice in the past, but in general, I mean, they did a great job talking with the rating agencies. We have due diligence process that has to be encompassed, and the responses were very thorough, very accurate, and we feel like it was a very good representation of everything going on in the city, which the rating agencies also noticed. And again, you received that rating upgrade, which was a very good benefit to the city and very, very good all around. The sale was great in general. We were able to lower interest rates from this morning when we went out to market to the final pricing. We ended up lowering those anywhere from 2 to 5 basis points, and that translated to the savings going up over $1 million on a cash flow basis. So with that said, happy to answer any questions that you may have, but all in all, it was a very, very good day, a very good sale, and congratulations.
Great. Any questions from council? Comments, discussion? None? Mr. Cameron, do you have anything?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mark Graham is our bond counsel. I'm not sure if he may have doing the TEFRA hearing, but Mark has been very instrumental throughout this process. And I do want to say to Martin and to Carl and everyone involved, Mark, everyone that was involved in the process. It is, if you've never gone through one of those rating changes, there's a lot of work that goes into it. But I also want to commend this council, because a lot of the changes that we've made and the processes that have been improved are not just things that was done in this. Those were noted by the rating agency. So some of the things that we asked to change or to amend in the process improvements that we've adopted. We even discussed the mission, vision, and values in the bond rating agency call. So you're talking about what you're doing to maintain internal control, or the big word, institutional control, things that you're demonstrating that you have. So we've discussed over the phone major changes in personnel, changes in how we handle our financing, and when we do our budgeting, how we do our budgeting, when we amend our budget, who's in control of the budget. There's a lot of questions that go in there, and there was a lot of questions in that call. And I just think it speaks volumes to not only the people that helped guide us through that. That's very difficult, and I commend the work that was done. I commend the entire city staff, the council, and everyone that's allowing us to do our jobs on a daily basis, that are allowing us to make these changes. Instead of saying that's the way we've always done it, you're allowing us to move it in a direction that is a whole lot different. It's not just that the staff buy into processes, relationships, and trust. It's that the council did as well. And you're allowing us to do that every day. And I think today is a reflection of what we've all collectively done, with the help of some advisors and some pretty aggressive thinking, to take those bond reserves and put them into play. So I think the community, while it may take a while for everyone to understand what does that really mean, it's huge for us just because it's $1 million that our residents are not going to have to pay. And I think as we're looking at restructuring our debt, making it easier long-term, I think is a huge win for the community long-term. And I think we left Woodpile a whole lot bigger than the way we found it today after the work that was done. I appreciate everyone involved that was part of it. But I really appreciate Carl and Martin, the conversations we had in my office. And Carl, a year ago, it didn't look this bright. So I appreciate the work and that everything that's gone on to it. And so that's all I have. But it's a huge win. We've also issued a press release to the community so we can get this out, giving it to Ryan and his reporter with the Commonwealth, and provided some pretty detailed answers. So definitely want to make a big deal about this one for our community to see it. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the support to let us change, to bring these changes to you. So thank you.
I would like to echo what David has said. You know, the processes that you have undergone in the last year, the changes that you've gone through, the allowing yourselves and your staff to work together was really instrumental in that rating upgrade. I will tell you, it is not often that you are able to have a rating upgrade. It's hard to get that extra bump. So my congratulations to you. This is my last bond issue as I'm retiring next week. And so I feel good that leaving it on a high note, and you're in great hands with Martin, and obviously Mark Grimm has served you well, and you know, these are the people that are really going to be instrumental in helping you move forward in the future. So thank you for the opportunity to work for the city over these many years, and I appreciate that chance.
Well, thank you for the help and enjoy retirement.
Carl, don't be too sure about that retirement.
You know, Ron, I've heard that. I've heard that. You know, and there's something.
We have a sitting example.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Cameron.
one other item to note for the community, we will be posting the report that came out today that has all the financials so that you can see, so that it will break down the financials for everyone to see how we arrived at the savings. So that will be posted to our website tomorrow, so people will actually be able to review if they want to go through all 30 pages, but it will be back to our transparency side. We are putting that information out for people to review those financials and that data if they would like to look at it.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from council? Mr. Shears.
I'd like to thank David and staff also. This is quite an undertaking, and to have foresight the way they have is truly amazing, and we're so thankful for that. And hope our citizens can probably look on it. If I'm wrong, please say so. It's very similar to having a refinance of your own home, in that when you refinance, lower interest rate and so forth, you save money. And it's not that we have an extra $1 million in our account to spend for whatever. That's not the point at all. So this money will be used to pay off, you know, existing debt and services and so forth. So it is a savings over $1 million, you know, that taxpayers won't have to pay, but still receive the same services.
Yeah.
So a very good move.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from council? Seeing nothing, roll call vote.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Duran?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Self?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all again. Need a motion and a second for the second reading of bill number 17-38.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries 6-0, Ms. Brenda.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving the final plat of the lakes at Schuler Ridge Phase 2 subdivision.
Thank you. Need a motion and a second for final passage of bill number 17-38.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Tyson, I believe we have some updates.
Yes, if you recall at the last council meeting, I had mentioned that there was still a small amount of infrastructure that remained undone at this particular subdivision. And so as of this afternoon, there is still just a small bit that still needs to be done, and then that needs to be inspected. Rather than delaying this second reading for an additional 2 weeks, I believe Ron's prepared a short memo with an amendment to this ordinance that would allow for council to go ahead and take action tonight to vote on the final plat document, and then myself, the city administrator, and the city attorney will be authorized to sign once that last final bit of infrastructure is completed and inspected. We can then authorize the actual recording of the final plat document at that time.
Mr. Cameron, do you have something to add to that?
No, I mean, I just want to say, thank you, Mr. Mayor, that I think this speaks volumes, that I appreciate that you guys continue to work with the developer to get it to this point. Typically, we'd like to see this stuff done, and hopefully, as a trend moving forward, we'll have it done before the final plan. I think it goes once again, to signify that the staff is working to try to expedite, to make it easier for the builder to move through, because otherwise this would have had to be tabled, wait 2 weeks before they could even issue permits. This still allows us to provide some level of flexibility for Garrett and his staff that would allow for the developer to get it finished, given there's weather coming tomorrow, this week, and a lot of this stuff is time sensitive, getting contractors out there. I just think this, while it may seem very simple, just a stroke with the pen, which it is, and I appreciate the work that Ron has done, but I think it also demonstrates that we're willing to try to say, hey, we're gonna extend ourselves a little bit, allow you the opportunity to finish it up. But we reserve the right still not to issue the building permits until this meets our standards. So your approval is conditional, upon those being completed, and we'll be signing on your behalf once that's done. But I think this is an extension rather than waiting for the next meeting before they can even issue permits. And once they meet those standards and we all agree, then we'll issue permits. We'll also, one thing we also need to do is we'll provide you an update that if and when that's done before the next meeting, so that if and when we issue permits prior to the next meeting, you'll be aware that all the conditions have been met.
So, in order to entertain final passage, we would need to talk about an amendment to the bill. And Mr. Garrison has prepared the language that would take care of the city.
Yes, what we're proposing for a motion and second is an addition of a section 5 to the ordinance that reads as follows. The final plat approval is contingent upon the development passing final inspections as to completed infrastructure. The Community Development Director, City Administrator, and City Attorney will be presented the final inspections, and upon their approval, the final plat may be released for filing. The final plat is to be filed pursuant to Section 3 within 60 days of its release, and the Section 3 that's being referred to is what's in the ordinance.
So with all that, do you have any questions, comments, or discussion from council regarding this bill or the amendment that is proposed?
What infrastructure was not complete?
It's just sidewalks, to my knowledge.
Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion and a second to amend Council Bill number 17-38 and the following is added as section 5?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries 6-0. Now, we will move on to a roll call vote for the final passage of Bill number 17-38 with amended language in section 5.
Councilmember Self?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Duran? Aye. Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 6-0 with the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. On to new business. Need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill number 17-39.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Ms. Brenda?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the Parks and Recreation Director to enter into a lease agreement with Republic R3 School District for 2 district buses.
Thank you. Mr. Keeling?
Good evening. First, I want to say the Parks and Recreation Department utilizing school buses is not a new thing. We've been doing that for a number of years. I think our asking in the spring for a second bus prompted the school and the school's attorneys to look at our existing agreement. So we have 1 school bus already that we're using. We're proposing to get a second one. I think that prompted a look at the agreement. They came back with a very suitable agreement. Rhonda and Ron has vetted it. The primary thing was they need some sort of consideration. That consideration comes in the form of $1 in your agreement. As you may be aware of already, we take care of the buses while we have them. We maintain them. They are property of the school. When we're done with them, eventually, when they probably outuse their lifespan, we'll give them back to the school and they'll sell them from there. We kind of have a similar agreement with the police cars, and you might look for that to come your way soon too with this new agreement from the school. So it works out really, really well for us. Formerly, we were actually purchasing our buses outright, usually at a price around $7,000 to $8,000. So this is a win-win for both sides. So.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, discussion? Mr. Keeling?
Assume this is budgeted.
$1?
Amendment coming.
We got a little extra now.
Just asking for the people.
I understand.
Absolutely.
If it's not John, out of the kindness of my heart, I'll cover it.
You're the man.
I do want to publicly thank the Republic School District for this. It is a tremendous benefit to our departments.
Absolutely. Seeing nothing else, remember this is a first read. If you have any questions, please get with Mr. Keeling in the meantime, or
Thank you.
Ms. Mayfield. She can answer questions as well. Okay, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of bill number 17-40.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0, Ms. Renee.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending chapters 510 and 515 of the Republic City Code related to rights-of-way management.
Thank you. Mr. Cameron?
So I don't think it's me.
You want me to?
Oh,
Well,
Sorry
I
about
sure
that.
hope it's not me explaining it.
it was listed for as you.
Yeah, I want to add one thing before we hear from Garrett, is this was something that has been being worked on since, I guess, February or March, and so the documents have been being passed around since then, and no offense to you, but we forgot to tell them we had a new mayor, and so we're going to have to change the mayor's name on this.
That's okay.
At the second readings, we would get that done. And the original draft that I thought they were going to present us also included some changes to chapter 510, and so that was in the caption of the ordinance, and it does not at this time have any changes to chapters 510. We will correct all of that for the second reading.
Mr. Tyson.
So this bill is part of a much larger package that will also subsequently include amendments to the city zoning regulations and the building regulations. The entire package taken together is intended to appropriately regulate the installation of small cell wireless towers throughout the community. If you're not familiar, mobile telecommunication technology has primarily used large, very tall towers in the past, and now as they progress from 4G into 5G, they now are desiring to deploy small cell towers. So these are much shorter. They can be affixed to street poles, buildings, a lot of different places that these things can go. They can be concealed, but in some cases they're not quite concealed. And so communities are trying to play catch up now with the technology to make sure that regulations are in place to make sure that what you don't end up with is something that is a lot of visual clutter throughout the community, installations in places that really aren't appropriate. Also, you want to make sure it is safe, because some of these installations, although they're shorter than the really large towers, they can still be quite tall, so you want to make sure you have provisions for fall zones, things of that nature. But at the same time, you also don't want to impede the growth and deployment of the technology. So you want to regulate it, but you also want to facilitate it, because in the future, it's technology like this that will help our community facilitate better data provision to the home, as well as the autonomous vehicles. All of these things will potentially be operated from these small cell installations. So this package is designed to put us in that place where it's appropriately regulated, but at the same time not completely restricting the market here in Republic. So this particular bill by itself is the package that applies to the city's right-of-way. What it does is it requires 3 different levels of authorization from the city to basically do work, an installation of what this ordinance calls a facility. To install or maintain a facility in the city's right-of-way would require either a franchise agreement, what's called in this ordinance a right-of-way use agreement, or a license issued by the Public Works Director. The small cell wireless towers would require right-of-way use agreements, since they don't have to have franchise agreements under current state and federal law. So there's a lot of language in here. It's very verbose, a lot of legalese, if you will. But the basis of it is to put the city in a position to begin to require these right-of-way use agreements, so that we can be at the table with these wireless providers to negotiate the terms of how those installations are going to take place here in this community. It also requires the issuance of permits for excavation. All of those things are relatively normal processes that we already have in place, but it does make those processes slightly more robust in order to deal with the wireless telecommunication issue. The reason for that is you can't just single them out. So whatever we do for them, in a lot of ways, we have to do to everybody else as well. So there will be some procedural augmentation as a result of this, but that's in some ways part of the price to pay to regulate the small cell wireless installations. The reason for that is they have a very effective lobby, and so some of the laws passed at the state and federal levels have made it very difficult for municipalities like us to regulate these in the ways that we may want to. In some ways, we're handcuffed a little bit. So if you're wondering why is something like this so long, that's part of why. These attorneys that we've been working with are very well versed in this, and they've put together something that we believe is effective, but at the same time is defensible should we get challenged, because it's in some ways expected that we may be. So this is necessary. This is the first step. Later will come the zoning and the building code revisions, but this is a good first step for us to take because it puts us in the position to go ahead and start putting together some use agreements. We're currently already in discussions with Verizon, and AT&T also wants to begin discussions on this sort of thing, so it's important that we get something on the books quickly.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
So, just to recap, so Gary did an outstanding job of explaining a very complex matter, by the way. This council authorized an execution, or an agreement with, was it Vogel?
Cunningham and Vogel.
Cunningham and Vogel. One of the agreements that you allowed us to sign was the Verizon agreement, was someone that would help us, that was partnering with other cities throughout the state. If you recall during the legislature, and it's been a while, but this will get brought up again in the next legislative session again. But we've actually been working with this group since the last legislative session, as this council allowed us the funding to proceed. This is one of the steps that they came out of, and so that's this is one of the instruments that came out of the legal work that you've authorized us to do. It is fairly lengthy. There's been a lot of discussion, but it is all subject to change versus what the next legislature is going to look like. But we do need to get something on the books.
So it would require an agreement or permit.
That's correct. Yeah, both an agreement and a permit. You can't pull permits until you have an agreement with us.
Okay.
Is what this requires.
So there's set parameters for the permits?
That's right. So
and then who reviews those?
the Public Works Director will be in the driver's seat on all of those issues, and then I imagine as a staff, we will help with the negotiation of the agreements, and then the permits will have to reflect what's in those agreements. And it gives us the opportunity, there's limits to how far we can push these things, but it gives us the opportunity to negotiate on location and size and scale of the installations, things of that nature.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, remember this is first read. If you have any questions, please get with Mr. Tyson in the meantime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to resolutions. Resolution number 17-R-77. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving and authorizing the city administrator to submit a renewal application for hall provider of bingo premises. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Cameron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe this is just an annual renewal that is required by resolution for us to approve that allows for the senior center to conduct their bingo operations, so.
That is correct, sorry. That is correct. This is actually just the license to let them do that. They have to get their own license over there to actually conduct the bingo. This is something we provide them every year. And that is the non-for-profit board over there.
Okay. Any questions from council? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Bingo. On to reports from staff. Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, kudos, Debbie. It was the first refinance for you, but you did an outstanding job. Also, I may have mentioned at the last meeting that Debbie just completed her 6-month review, so that was a whole lot of work that has been encompassed in a 6-month time period, an audit and a refinance. I'm not sure why you're still here, but I know why you're here, but I'm glad you stuck it out. That was a lot of hard work. And then Garrett, congratulations. He's been in his position for a year, in his promotion. So, kudos to all the work. And when I look back and I look at what tonight represents, there's a lot of work that goes on all the time. I think, Karen, I think about the comprehensive plan. On October 10th, I think, is our first meeting where we're doing the pre-bid meetings. We've got an enormous project that's an undertaking that's going on right now that Karen is leading and the Community Development Department is taking on. We're gonna start the pre-bid meetings for that starting on October 10th, and I look forward to that project. The budget process is underway. The employee handbook is getting ready to come to you that has been completely redrafted. And so, when we talk about saving $1 million, there's a lot of things that are continuously going on all the time that staff is working on that's aggressively progressive to move us forward, to keep looking for ways to make the community better and our processes better. And so I celebrate the victories, and I celebrate also the work that's gone into it, and the long days and the weekends and the extra work that goes into it. I promise there'll be a break in the future somewhere. My wife says never. But I want to express my appreciation to all the staff, all of our public safety for being, just the work that goes on that we don't see all the time, the way that it was handled with the events that have happened recently, just how quickly the information got out to the community, how it was communicated. I just want to express my appreciation to the staff and to the council again for the ability to do this job and allow us to do that. And we'll provide as much information as we can, as quickly as we can, but I just don't feel the pressure like what's going on, what's happening, and I feel like that I appreciate just the freedom to do our job, and I appreciate the staff doing that. So I had the opportunity this last week to join a delegation that went to Boise, Idaho, that basically looks at what growth trends and things that are going on, and I was very pleased to see what Boise was doing and to be a part of the Springfield, the regional delegation that got to go and make some connections and talk about what's going on in Republic. And it's always exciting to share our story on what's going on and people taking notice of what's going on in our community. But it was also really nice to see what's going on in other parts of the country and what you can bring back. And there's a few quotes that I shared, but I was really impressed and happy to see that a lot of things that they had implemented, we've already implemented. And so what was keys to their success were things that were very critical to ours. And so it was just things that we're going to have to do. Is doing nothing is not an option. And we need to let our minds go, run beyond control, and to the idea we got to think outside the box and not let things stop us, and believe that we're limited by what we see or what's happened in the past. And so but to stretch for greatness, to continue to look for ways to move our community forward and to think outside the box. And I think that we're doing that every day. I think that the staff has stretched every day to look for ways to do it different ways. We've saved more money in grants, cutting costs, refinancing, and just to see that, I think there's been a significant paradigm shift. But I saw that there, and it was refreshing, because instead of sitting there listening to it going, gosh, we really need to change a lot of stuff. I'm not saying we don't. I just sit there and felt very happy that we are moving forward. But there was one statement that was stated, and I gave it to Ryan for his quote for the paper, that trust follows money, or money follows trust. Got that backwards. When money follows trust, and when people begin to trust you, the bond agency saw a reason for them to increase our rating. There was a level of trust was raised. The more people begin to trust that we're changing it for the better, like tonight we added the language to this second reading. It's building trust with our community to invest in our community and do more work with our community and in the region. And I just want to commend again, I keep saying this to the whole community, but there's just a significant change from what it was like a year ago. And I appreciate the opportunity to work with this city, to be a part of it, and to go and represent our community when we're out and about and seeing places like Boise, because I see an even brighter future ahead for the city of Republic, and I'm excited about it, and I look forward to some more brainstorming that we need to do. I look forward to getting this council and our staff together. Let's talk about what are our goals and objectives going to be for this upcoming year. What do we want to change, and how do we push the envelope a little bit further and a little bit harder? So I look forward to doing that. I see there's a ribbon cutting for the 174 trail. There's more information outlined in this and the administrator's report. I will tell you that I do hope to have at the next council, at least an announcement for a new Public Works Director. We've completed that process, completed the interview, made an offer. Still waiting for some of the information to come back, but that should be completed by the end of this week. But really, there's been a lot that's gone on in the rodeo arena. I know that that's coming down or soon to come down, but again, there's an update in the back of your admin report if you have any questions about projects that are going on. It seems like we keep adding to it weekly. Somewhere we need to start taking some stuff off, but I appreciate the work that's going on there. So I'll take any questions, otherwise I'll be quiet. Thank you for a great evening.
Any questions from Mr. Cameron? Mr. Jones?
Do you have an update on the street, the restriping on Hunsnut and the season?
No, I do not. Maybe somebody else, Derek's not gonna get up and give me that answer. No, I do not. I'll get you an update on it.
All right.
Why would Garrett bail me out on that one?
One of the things David's not telling you about his trip to Boise, Idaho, is that there were other administrators and people from other larger cities who were wanting documents of how things have been being done in Republic, so they can mimic those and they can do those in their own city to try to be successful. And that's flattering that, you know, they want to do what's going on here so that they can have more success in their own city. Wanted to highlight on September 23rd, the Republic Fire Department hosted a bus rescue class, highlighted techniques to gain access to multiple patients in reinforced vehicles. I'm assuming that was a really good course and so important to have with as many kids as we have back and forth every day in school and home.
Mr. Smith will tell you school buses are hard to find to cut out.
Yeah.
They're nearly impossible. We're blessed to have the relationship that we have with the schools. So.
Good. Well, we appreciate you guys continuing your training. And
there were several people from area departments. I sent one of my own guys to it, and everybody enjoyed it from what I heard from people in the class. So
good.
Good deal. It was 90 degrees.
Yeah. It was hot, but we were a regional partner, right?
Yeah.
The police chief, the police department, and as a whole, we had some unfortunate events that have occurred inside the city of Republic. A death at someone else's hands, and those are never good to deal with. They cause emotions on all sides, and even with the officers who have to investigate it, the detectives who follow up on it. But we thank you guys for a quick resolution, making the citizens understand that this wasn't some random act, that people didn't have to be afraid in their homes and in the city, that they know that you guys are out there and that the work's going to get done and people are going to get caught if they do something like this in our city. So thank you, and also thank the Greene County Sheriff's Office for their partnership and being willing to stand there with us in our time of need and help us get those things done. But great work to the Republic Police Department. Mr. Cameron, did you have something?
I did. I made a boo-boo.
Go ahead.
As per our new purchasing policy, it stipulates that I will communicate any expenditure outside the budget. I did authorize staff to proceed with the Tiger Grant application, where Olson is helping us draft the language for the Tiger Grant. Was it 15,000? Basically, that will come out of the street budget. We will balance that out with some other funding that's in there that we're not going to be using. But we need to get the Tiger Grant submitted into the budget, or we need to get that resubmitted. Anytime you get outside the grant cycle, or it's not submitted, it gets put in the back, and I do not want to lose that Tiger Grant or at least, even if we don't get it, we need to get that submitted. And there's a lot of, I wish it was just as simple as filling out a grant form. It requires demographic information and a lot of stuff that has to be updated from the last one. So I did authorize that expenditure of 15.5, is that correct? But that is required as per policy that I report that at the next meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. But I have two more things. They'll be quick and short. The rodeo arena, I wanted to talk about that, the old Saddle Club over there at Miller Road, that is gone. And the reason, a lot of people have asked why that's gone, and if you went over there and looked at those bleachers, you know why it's gone. They were dangerous, and they were a tetanus shot waiting to happen. It was just a bad situation. So I believe that the future master plan calls for athletic fields there.
Yeah, really nothing in the short term, but absolutely the master plan calls for athletic fields, and that's the direction we'll be in.
Okay.
Not a dog park.
And then the last thing, I don't have all the information on, I want to make sure I'm right on it, Mr. Tyson, is that 101 East Mill, which is right down here, basically at Main and Mill, a large building that is going to be demoed due to some problems with the structure.
That's correct. It's planned to be demoed tomorrow morning.
Okay. So that, more than likely, that will be gone soon after tomorrow. Okay. It's been a worry, so that's coming down. I'm gonna stop there and move on to reports from council. Mr. Ann.
Just want to echo what you said to both fire and police. That was a big one to overcome this past, week or whatever with that. That was really tragic, and so praying for the families involved. Awesome job on that refinance. I mean, you can't beat that. You've had a busy 6 months. So I appreciate everything that you do and all the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Same thing that she said. I appreciate with the incident that PD had, that it was quickly out there for the public to see, and so that everybody was aware and constantly updated as soon as the updates were available. So it was on time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beshears.
I don't have too much more to add compared to what I said a while ago, but I've really been impressed with our new staff. It's amazing to see this many new people come on and be willing, I guess, to accept a lot of the vision that we have. And it's also impressive to have some of our people who have been with us for years that have also bought in to the vision that we have. So your staff is everything in a business. It's a school, a city, whatever. Without a good staff, you're not heading in the right direction. So David mentioned a while ago about doing nothing is not a choice. And to stagnate or to stay still in the city is not a choice. You can't stay still. You're going up, you're going down. And I can see, compared to years in the past, that we're definitely on the upward spiral, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jones?
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Looking forward to Pumpkin Day Saturday, and it was good to see the police chief on Channel 3 this evening concerning outstanding warrants.
Getting his face out there and letting people know if you got a warrant, you better turn yourself in. Otherwise, they're going to come looking for you.
That'd be it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Self.
Again, to both of our public safety departments, thank you for everything you all do, especially with the horrific event. Same thing as what they've said. Debbie, thank you for your dedication and your perseverance. It's all downhill from here, right? So, no, I mean, if you think about even having the efficiency of the software, I mean, that's something that I've said in multiple weeks, but I can't imagine all the free time you'd have. So, anyway, thank you again.
Yeah, right.
But and then Karen, I haven't been over there much, but I have been getting reports, and everything I've heard is all positive. So thank you so much for putting your head down, working. That comp plan is not a small task by any means. So I've already received a couple emails from you. So looking forward to being a part of that and seeing where that takes us. So.
Yeah, and another thing to follow what Mr. Beshears said is, in years past, maybe we wouldn't have been able to say, let's have an amendment to this final read so that we can work with the developer and get this going. It would have been stopped in its tracks, and we could have had a developer upset. We could have had a large development put on hold, if not walked away from, because of having a hard time dealing with the city. So, Mr. Tyson and the council for being willing to do that, and trust that Ron can go in there and just type something out real quick, and we know that we're good and covered. So that is great. So if we don't have anything else, motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
John will do it. John.